How to make your first Airbnb listing. So once we have checked out that everything works well, we didn't do any remodel, we have decorated, everything's ready to go, we have to take those pictures. So what I recommend doing is actually taking every picture that you have in landscape mode. Do not take pictures in portrait. And the reason we don't recommend taking pictures in portrait, it's because those pictures will not show up on the Airbnb app. You actually have to take a couple more steps to actually see that picture. So it's very important that all of the pictures that you have are in landscape so that when you introduce them into the Airbnb listing, the guest can actually swipe very quickly through the pictures and see your listing and then book your listing. So that's why it's important to take them all in landscape. Another thing is to have daylight. Make sure you take the pictures during the day. Make sure you open up all of the curtains so that the daylight can come through. And it's gonna showcase the details better this way. I also recommend you taking close-ups of the knickknacks and the decor that you have provided, the amenities that you are providing for your guests. So those are very important things to have when you are taking those pictures. Now, why are pictures important? Because that's the first impression that you are giving your guests. They're not reading the description. Sometimes they don't even read the title. The first thing is that they're looking at the pictures. It's crucial for you to have the first 5 pictures, your best pictures, to be the first ones that come up on the Airbnb listing. So make sure you take them landscape. Make sure you use all the natural light possible. And if you can't afford to hire a photographer, a real estate photographer, or a photographer that then you can use your phone. But tuck yourself in a corner. Make sure that you can actually see most of the room within that corner. I don't recommend for you to use a zoom out lens because it's gonna make the illusion that the space is bigger than it is. And we don't wanna have the guests complaining saying, hey, it doesn't look like the pictures. It's actually smaller than how it looks in the pictures. So always understand that the pictures that you're taking and that you're uploading into your Airbnb listing have to look realistic. Do not sell something fake. Do not change the color saturation, because then when the guest checks in and it doesn't look like the pictures, they're gonna feel cheated. So, also make sure that you're able to take some close-ups, just like you've seen here in this picture. It's also important because it gives that vibe of coziness to the guest, and it's very inviting for them. Now, the next thing that you have to think about is the pricing. Now, in this picture, you're gonna see how our pricing, it's never the same. It's always changing. So I recommend you using PriceLabs. PriceLabs is a third-party app that it's used for dynamic pricing. Now, Airbnb has their own sort of dynamic pricing, but it doesn't vary enough. I've noticed that if you put a minimum and a maximum, if they don't think that it's a peak season, they're just gonna continue to put it on your minimum. So your pricing is gonna look exactly the same throughout the month, throughout the weekends, and that's not something that we recommend. So always use a third-party app for dynamic pricing. Now, another app that we have used, it's alltherooms.com. It provides us an idea of what other properties are actually charging, the average of the occupancy rate and the average of the properties around our area, so that we can have a better idea of what our pricing should be. A good website as well, it's AirDNA. So AirDNA also provides you all of that information from the pricing, the average, the occupancy rate, what you should be doing, what you should be using, the events that are happening. And that's why it's important to use this dynamic pricing tools, because they actually change depending on what's happening within your city. So that way the pricing that it's going to be shown to the guests, it's never going to be just straight across the board. So do not set it and forget it. Make sure that you are changing your pricing. If not, you will be leaving money on the table. And then another thing with pricing is you have to take into consideration the pet fees. Like I mentioned, you can actually charge pet fees per pet per night. But pet fees, if you are allowing a pet-friendly stay, you will have to incorporate the pet fee in the actual extra additional charges. And always changing your pricing when it's peak season. For holiday times, make sure that you are changing your pricing. It's not the same thing for you to have a certain pricing for Christmas than it is to have it during January when it's your slow season. So always understand when is your peak season depending on where you have your property, and then making and changing and having that dynamic pricing throughout the entire months. Now, another thing that you guys have to understand, it's actually discounts. So in the pricing, you also have to think about the discounts, because when you do start your first Airbnb listing, Airbnb gives you the option of offering the first 3 guests a 20% discount. That way you can get those first reviews in really quickly. Now, the thing that they don't let you know is that if you already go in and add an additional weekly discount or monthly discount, these discounts will get bundled up. And what that means is that you are offering a 20% discount for being a new listing. And on top of that, it's going to add the weekly discount or the monthly discount. So I recommend you to not add any sort of weekly or monthly discount until you have finished hosting your first 3 guests or having those first 3 bookings. So do not add any weekly or monthly until after you have had those first 3 bookings that they have received that 20% discount. Now, here are some tips about pricing. Make sure you're upcharging for your weekends. Do not leave the same pricing for your weekdays as it is for your weekends, because weekends usually have a higher rate of booking. So if you can upcharge there, you're going to be making some extra income. And I highly recommend for you not to do one-night stays. One-night stays actually are very expensive in the long run because of the cleaning fees and because of all the maintenance that will require. So don't do one-night stays. So now we're ready to list your space on the Airbnb platform. The first thing that you have to do is actually choose a title. Now, I always recommend you choosing a catchy title that incorporates the location of the Airbnb, the amenities that you're offering, and the design that you are providing. But if you have amenities like, for example, a pool or a jacuzzi, then actually that's a really good thing to incorporate into your title. You can also incorporate, for example, if it's a modern design, a glamorous design, or a bohemian beach condo. So all those things are important for you to add. It's gonna make that title stand out and give an idea to your guest of what is it that they can get from that listing if they book it. And one of the things that I also recommend is adding, if you are pet friendly, that's also a good thing to point out. Or the location. If you're close to a certain attraction, for example, Disneyland, or if you're close to, for an urban market, if you're close to downtown, or if you're close to the base, then those things are important to point out, because who are you trying to attract? Who is your market? Who is your client? And what is it that they're coming here to do? So adding these things to your title, it's gonna make you stand out. Now, the other thing that I recommend is actually doing a custom link. Now, this custom link, you're able to make up anything that you want, but I always recommend doing a custom link that it's going to be easy for you to remember and easy for you to share to your friends, your family, on your social media. It's very important for you to have this custom link instead of copying and pasting this huge Airbnb link that no one knows what it is, right? So making sure that you have a custom link, and we have an example here. The actual Airbnb that I have in Playa del Carmen, it's a style called boho. So I named it Playa Boho because it's in Playa del Carmen and it has a style of boho, and this is how I remember it, and this is how it's easy for me to share to others. Now, the description in the listing, this is how you can tell your guests what they can expect once they check in. There's a brief description that you can add, but then there's a very lengthy one that you can provide. Now, in the lengthy one, honesty is going to be your best strategy. So, guide them, walk them through what it is that they're going to be seeing as soon as they check in. Let's suppose that they have bad service. Let's suppose that they're from out of town and they can't get the pictures to load, but they need to book a stay. If you can provide a really thorough description and guide them through your Airbnb by writing a very good description, that's going to also help you out. Now remember, it's all about SEO. So the more words that you can incorporate into what it is that you are providing, then the better chances it is that you're going to have a higher search rank. The following thing is the house rules. Make sure you set the expectations for your guest, including the fees that you will be charging if these rules are broken. Now, I will be providing you a template of the house rules that I use and the recommendations that I make depending if it's going to be a pet-friendly stay or not. So these house rules are very important for you to have every single time in all of your listings, and that you can let them know that, hey, we do not allow you to take our bedding or towels from the property. We do not allow you to smoke or vape, e-cigarettes, naming all of the ways that they can smoke. And if we do find out that you are smoking, there will be an extra cleaning fee that we will be charging, because we have to make sure that we're able to restore the Airbnb back to its original state. So those are part of the house rules, so that the guest knows that if they do break them, that you will go after the extra fees. Now, cleaning fees. It's very crucial that you do charge a cleaning fee. I recommend, but the AI has been very different lately and things change. So I don't know anyone that doesn't charge a cleaning fee at the moment, because COVID has raised the standard in cleaning by a lot. And since we still have those cleaning protocols that we have to follow through the Airbnb platform, that is the reason why we are still continuing to charge a cleaning fee and to charge pet fees. But understanding your area, understand your market, check out what is it that other people are doing, and that way you can stay competitive. Choosing to instant book. Now, instant book, I always have it on, but with limitations. You're able to actually choose for the guests to meet certain requirements before they can instant book. For example, they have to have a profile picture, they can have good reviews, you can make sure that they are good guests, that they have stayed at Airbnbs before. And you can also incorporate a pre-message that they have to read and respond back to you before they can actually just go ahead and instant book. So those things are requirements that I have put in place in order for someone to just instantly book my place before asking for the request. So it's important to understand what parameters you want to put, what limitations you want to include for your instant book. Now with instant book, there are other benefits, and you are protected a little bit more, because Airbnb wants you to make it easy for the guest to instant book without having to wait for an acceptance at a request. Now, if I do have someone that is trying to request a booking, but they couldn't instant book, I do check out their profile. I make sure why is it that they were not able to instant book. And if I find out that it's because they have 0 reviews, then I do send them another message stating that, hey, can you please make sure to read our house rules and tell me you agree to respect our house rules and follow them, and therefore I will accept your request. So that's why it's important to have house rules in place. And again, with instant book, the app already tells them that they had to have read the house rules in order for them to be able to instant book. All right, so moving on to the guest requirements. How can you protect your space and how you can screen your guest? And this is something that I was just talking about. If you do get an instant book, you can also still go into the profile of the guest and make sure that they do have good reviews. You can make sure that they have stayed at other places before, that they do have a profile picture. Another thing that I like to pre-screen my guests is, like I mentioned, sending them a message asking them to make sure to read our house rules, and that way they know exactly what it is that I'm expecting from them. Now, in any case that they said they read them and they didn't read them and yet they break a rule, then it's very easy for me to actually get air cover to provide any sort of reimbursement for damages or anything that might have happened, because I do have it stated in writing that they did read my house rules and they accepted it before they ended up staying. So just make sure to protect your space and to screen your guests, because if you do so, you are gonna be protecting also your neighborhood. Now, the cancellation policy. There's a lot of different cancellation policies that you can choose from. The cancellation policy that I like to use for my small properties, for example, my 1 bedrooms or even my 2 bedrooms, I actually choose flexible. Now, for my bigger homes, my 3 bedrooms or higher, I choose moderate. I don't have any sort of strict cancellations in place. And the reason is because I want them to be able to book and understand that they are able to get a refund depending on the days. For example, for my bigger homes, the reason I do moderate, it's because it might take me a little bit longer for me to rebook the property compared to my smaller bedrooms. Now, for long term, I do stick to long term strict cancellation, which means that if they do end up canceling, I will get paid out for the first 30 nights of their stay. So if they booked for more than 28 nights, if they booked for more than 30 nights, let's suppose they booked for 45 nights. Well, if they do cancel, I still get paid out for the first 30 nights and they only get refunded for the next 15 nights after the 30 nights. So that's why I stick to long-term strict cancellation, because my calendar most likely has been blocked for a longer time. And I want to make sure that I am compensated for having blocked my calendar for the guest that was going to come in but decided to cancel. The availability that you choose is how far in advance would you like to open up your calendar. And you can open up to 12 months. Now, the reason I don't open up my calendar for more than 3 months for my properties, it's because I don't want to put my same pricing too far in advance. So even though I have dynamic pricing, I don't know what events are gonna come into the city further down the road. And if I open up my calendar too far out, I might be leaving money on the table. So I don't wanna do that. That's why I only do 3 months at a time. And as well, I don't want someone to choose to stay in my property for more than 3 months. My Airbnbs are designed specifically for short-term rentals, meaning that I don't have big closets. I don't have huge fridge. I don't have some of the things that you might want in a home, because again, an Airbnb, it is a home, but it's not meant for you to stay there forever and live there forever. So that's why I don't want to open up my calendar for more than 3 months, because if someone does book for more than 2 months up to 3 months, then that's okay. That's called midterm stay. But if I have someone there for more than 3 months, then that they are becoming in essence a tenant, and I don't want that. So I want to stick to midterm to short term. That's mainly why I don't open up my availability for more than 3 months at a time. And your check-in and your check-out. So please be courteous to your cleaning crew. If you are the person cleaning, please understand how much time you actually need to leave the property back to how it was. Every single time you have to do all of the cleaning, you have to do all of the laundry, you have to do all of the kitchen. So give yourself the time and give your cleaning crew the time that they need for them to give the best product and service to your guests. So think about, if you have a big home, maybe it won't be ideal for you to let someone do a same day check-in if you don't have a big team that can actually take care of the property. But if you have a smaller home, if it's a 1 bedroom, you can probably do check-in at 4 p.m., check out at 11 a.m. And that's gonna give your cleaning crew or yourself enough time to actually do a good cleaning and a good turnover and restage the property exactly how it should look in the pictures. But another thing is always having extra sets of everything. Make sure you have at least 2 or 3 spares of bedding and towels and sheets. That way your cleaning crew or yourself doesn't have to be waiting on the laundry for you to be able to welcome your next guest. So what's another important thing that we have to make sure? It's how to create content. There's a way for you to be in social media and actually also provide a guidebook through the Airbnb app. Now, we also have done blogs for our Airbnb guests where we include places to go, where to shop, restaurants to go to, events, or even how close the next pharmacy is or the grocery shop. So all of those things are very important when you are creating your listing. That way you have an actual footprint in the social media and people can find you easily and book again with you. So your first guest. When you're welcoming your first guest, we love to provide and leave a nice gift basket for them. It might be some treats. It might be, a present. It might be just a welcome wine bottle or something that lets them know that we care and that we're really happy that they chose to book with us. So that's one of the things that we do for our first guest. Another thing is that we make sure to have great communication with them, to respond to any questions, and to respond as fast as possible as well. So be there for your guest. Make them feel welcome. Make sure you understand that this first guest is going to be the first person paying to stay there, and also that they are going to most likely be your first review. So make sure that you are understanding about this and that you provide the best service that you can, because we are in the hospitality industry. How can you maximize profits? Choose the right strategy for it. Design for your short-term rental. I've shown you ways to design it. I've shown you videos on ways to design for your short-term rental. Promote your Airbnb on social media. If you can create content, if you can actually publish it on your social media platforms, that's also going to maximize your profits because it's going to increase your occupancy rate. Aiming for an 85 occupancy rate, that's the way to actually maximize your profit as well. If you have an 85% occupancy rate, that means that you have enough time for keeping up with the maintenance for your property, as well as keeping the flow of traffic coming into your Airbnb. Being a pet-friendly stay. If you offer pet-friendly options for your guests, that's going to maximize your profits because people are going to pay a pet fee and they're willing to pay extra for bringing their pets to stay with them into their vacation or coming to work with them if you're in an urban market. And having a functional backyard. Long are the days that you didn't have to have a functional backyard, that you could just, put in whatever into your Airbnb. Now it's a crucial thing to design for your Airbnb as well as to having a functional backyard, because people actually want to spend time outside. It's not just about what's inside your home anymore. It's also what you can provide in your backyard for your guests to enjoy. Maybe you have a pool, maybe you have a jacuzzi, maybe you have a deck, maybe you have a really nice area where they can relax and enjoy and read a book. So make sure that you are able to incorporate a functional backyard if you want to maximize your profits.